And so we began our series with the story of Abraham.
Kita memulai seri ini dari kisah Abraham.
Thank you, Joseph. There's some pictures today, just so you can get a little picture. There's Abraham. So he is known as the father of all many nations.
Dikatakan bahwa Abraham itu bapa segala bangsa.
And God gave him a promise.
Dan Tuhan memberikan janji kepada dia.
Oh, and what was that promise?
Apakah janjinya itu?
Does anyone remember?
Apakah ada yang masih mengingat?
Yes, that's correct. All right, if you said Genesis 12, verse 1 to 3, go to the land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. Through you, every family on earth will be blessed.
Ya, berfirman Tuhan kepada Abraham, pergilah dari negerimu dan dari sanak saudaramu dan dari rumah bapamu ini ke negeri yang akan kutunjukkan kepadamu. Aku akan membuat engkau menjadi bangsa yang besar dan memberkati engkau serta membuat namamu masyhur dan engkau akan menjadi berkat. Aku akan memberkati orang-orang yang memberkati engkau dan mengutuk orang-orang yang mengutuk engkau. Dan olehmu semua kaum di muka bumi akan mendapat berkat.
So we got that? We remembered? Yep.
Jadi masih ingat ya kita mendapatkan janji tersebut?
Oh, good. So that's the promise that God gave to Abraham.
Jadi itu adalah janji yang Tuhan berikan kepada Abraham.
Now, this promise was passed on from Abraham to his son.
Nah, jadi berikutnya adalah
Joseph. Who is it? Let's see if people can guess. Who
Baik.
is Abraham's son that got the promise?
Jadi janji ini berlanjut kepada anaknya Abraham. Siapa nama anaknya Abraham?
Isaac. Good job.
Ishak ya. Ishak.
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 Yes. All right. So Isaac was the son that promise was passed on to.
Jadi Ishak adalah anak perjanjian yang diberikan kepada Abraham, yang dimana janji daripada Tuhan kepada Abraham itu turun kepada Ishak.
All right, don't put the slide up yet, Joseph, but who did Isaac pass on this promise to?
Nah, janjinya tersebut mengalir kepada siapa setelah Ishak?
Jacob. Gold stars for you guys. Well done.
Si Yakub ya.
Jacob.
Yakub.
Using just a little bit of trickery and deception.
Ya, menggunakan sedikit ada tricky ya.
Yeah, very, very tricky.
Yeah.
Jacob. He's a tricky guy.
Tricky guy, sedikit ada menipu.
So, now, this is where we are today in the story.
Nah, sekarang kita akan berada di dalam kisah yang berikutnya.
And so this promise is now passed on to Jacob's 12 sons.
Jadi setelah dari Yakub, bahwa janji ini pun mengalir kepada 12 anak daripada Yakub.
Cool. What a cool crew. Look really strong. Really.
Semuanya berewokan ya.
Really manly. I didn't draw that. If I had drawn that, it would probably be lucky to look like people. They were quite
Coba
rough.
mana yang Ruben lo? Ayo mana Ruben?
Okay. And so these 12 sons, they're known as the tribes of Israel.
Jadi 12 ini adalah anak-anak daripada Israel atau Yakub.
And so each one of these men had a tribe underneath them. Tribe, like a...
Suku. Ya, jadi 12 anak ini akhirnya menjadi suku Israel.
And so a few of the names, well, all of their names are mentioned in the scriptures.
Jadi semua nama-nama mereka itu disebutkan di dalam Alkitab.
But the Bible highlights one particular son.
Tapi di Alkitab ada memberikan satu highlight pada satu orang.
And that's who we're looking at today.
Dan hari ini kita akan melihat kepada siapakah itu.
And that is Joseph.
Yaitu Joseph yang ada di belakang.
Hey.
Ya.
They look
Okay.
pretty similar.
Sama masih muda ya.
How
Mirip
long is
ya?
Joseph's hair now?
It looks similar.
Similar, yeah.
Without hat ya.
Yeah, actually, look. That is uncanny. That is uncanny.
Joseph yang gambar.
All right, so you can get your phone again.
Oke, sekarang boleh ambil lagi handphonenya. Bukan lihat sosial media.
And you can scan this for
Boleh
our
silakan
profile
di-scan
card.
QR code-nya untuk bisa mendapatkan handout ya, lembaran daripada apa yang kita pelajari hari ini.
Oh, good. Jeffrey, can you please get Fraser to send this card? He's just in the kids' room there. Thank you. Awesome. All right, so we're going to flow through this character card today, and we're going to be talking about the story of Joseph.
Jadi kita akan melanjutkan untuk bisa melihat kepada card yang tadi sudah kita lihat di depan.
All right, and we've got one more link before we get right into it.
Ada satu link lagi sebelum kita melanjutkan.
the purpose of this series is for us to discover more and more about the Bible.
Jadi tujuan daripada seri ini adalah supaya kita semakin mengetahui lebih dalam lagi tentang Alkitab.
And to read the Bible for ourselves.
Dan untuk membaca Alkitab buat diri kita sendiri.
And so we have a devotion that we're going to be doing as a church this coming week connected to the story of Joseph.
Jadi kita punya renungan harian yang akan kita lakukan dalam kebersamaan sebagai gereja dalam beberapa waktu ke depan.
And so the link for this devotion will be sent soon, if not sometime today. But otherwise you can scan this and join in the Bible devotion together.
Ya, jadi bagi Anda yang nomor teleponnya sudah tertera di gereja, nanti dalam hari ini atau mungkin besok akan dikirimkan linknya. Tapi bagi Anda yang mau langsung bisa scan QR-nya untuk bisa join di dalam renungan harian gereja kita.
So we are covering a lot of territory, a lot of scriptures in a short space of time. And so the devotion gives us the opportunity to be able to just spend some more time in the story.
Ya, jadi dalam beberapa waktu ke depan kita akan mempelajari cukup banyak hal-hal tokoh-tokoh daripada Alkitab, khususnya dalam beberapa waktu ini dalam Perjanjian Lama, dan renungan harian ini membantu kita untuk bisa mengingat setiap hari tentang poin daripada apa yang kita pelajari.
And so I encourage you to join in with the devotion, or you can find another devotion on Joseph, and let's be reading about this story during the week.
Jadi kita mengencourage untuk Anda semua bisa join, bisa bergabung dengan renungan harian kita.
Alrighty, so we see that Joseph was born into a family of 10 brothers at the time. It became 11 because Benjamin was younger than him.
Ya, jadi Yusuf ini lahir menjadi bagian daripada anak ke-11 daripada 10 bersaudara pada waktu itu karena Benyamin belum lahir.
And Joseph was the son of Jacob and Rachel.
Dan si Yusuf ini adalah anak daripada Yakub dan Rahel.
We didn't think about calling our son Joseph, did we? No, because I already know a Joseph.
It's already
too good.
too famous.
Too famous.
Yeah.
Can't compete with our original Joseph. But so Rachel was, as we talked about last week, Jacob's first love, sweetie, honey bunny, babe, sayang, ku.
Ya, jadi Yakub ini, Rahel ini adalah cinta pertama daripada si Yakub, ya, yang paling menarik, menawan hati, yang paling cantik dan lain sebagainya.
That's right. And so even though Jacob had already had other sons to his other wife, Leah, who had the weak eyes. Remember we talked about this? She has the weak eyes. And some concubines. It's a complicated story, okay? We don't have time to talk about it. If you want to read it for yourself, you're welcome to do that. Anyway, Jacob had already had many sons, but this particular son was very precious to him because it was the firstborn son of his first love, Rachel.
Jadi sebenarnya si Yakub ini sudah punya sekian anak daripada Leah, istri yang lainnya. Namun si Yusuf ini spesial karena dia lahir daripada istri yang paling dia kasihi.
And so Joseph was highly favored by his father.
Jadi Yusuf ini mendapatkan perlakuan spesial daripada ayahnya.
And you might be familiar with the story that he gets a special gift from his dad.
Tentunya untuk setiap kita mungkin cukup familiar dengan apa yang diberikan oleh ayahnya kepada Yusuf, yaitu berupa jubah.
Does anyone remember what that gift was? Oh, you said the wrong one.
Ya, apa namanya?
Too many
Just
J's?
pretend, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Did you get it right, or you need a? Okay, cool. So does anyone remember what that gift was?
Apa Sorry. Okay. Apa pemberiannya? Kok bisa tahu sih?
So
Yeah.
Elang, can you stand up just for a second? Oh, look, it's pretty colourful.
Yes.
So it might be similar to the shirt that Elang has on, maybe the coat. So he was given an ornate coat, an ornate robe, a multicolored robe.
Ya, jadi jubah yang memiliki banyak warna.
And so Joseph was pretty happy about this gift.
Dan Yusuf tentunya sangat bangga dan berbahagia dengan jubah tersebut.
And I can imagine that Joseph kind of walked around with a bit of a swagger. Do you have a word for swagger here? Swagger? I'm old, so I don't even know what the new word is. With the fit? What's the word? Karen banget?
Ya, jadi bisa bayangkan bahwa Yusuf berjalan dengan berlagak keren begitu ya.
And so he was like, yeah, this is cool. My dad loves me. I'm his favorite. I've got this coat.
Ini keren sekali, ayah saya memberikan ini dan ini sangat luar biasa.
And so this coat represents Jacob's favoritism.
Jadi jubah tersebut memberikan satu pengertian bahwa Yusuf itu dispesialkan.
When I was younger, I have a twin sister. We would always get the same gifts for Christmas and for birthdays.
Jadi saya memiliki saudara kembar dan setiap hari Natal kami memiliki hadiah spesial yang sama.
But just a little bit different.
Cuman sedikit berbeda.
So like the same shirt, different color.
Tipe baju yang sama tapi warnanya berbeda.
And I always wanted the color that my sister got. Every time. It was like, I wanted that color. And we would like fight about who got which shirt. And it wasn't good.
Oke.
Yeah.
Oke. Jadi setiap kali kalau misalnya dikasih hadiah, Pastor Recha selalu pengen warna yang dimiliki oleh kembarannya. Entah kenapa, pokoknya selalu ribut aja. Ini untuk saya.
And there was this particular pair of boots. Usually mum got us pretty much the same shoes because it was like hard to get a different color. But she got two different style boots that were both brown. And I remember being very jealous that my sister had that style and I had the other style.
Iya, jadi saya masih ingat waktu itu orang tua saya memberikan saya sepatu dan saudara kembaran saya itu memiliki tipe sepatu yang saya sukai dan saya sangat cemburu waktu itu.
And so Joseph's coat, it made his brothers very jealous.
Jadi jubah yang dimiliki oleh Yusuf membuat saudara-saudaranya cemburu.
And to make matters worse, Joseph has some dreams.
Dan ada hal yang membuat semakin buruk, semakin memperkeruh suasana, yaitu di mana Yusuf memiliki mimpi.
Let's have a look at what those dreams were. In Genesis 37 verses 5 to 11. Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. Good work, Joseph. He said to them, listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it. His brothers said to him, do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us? And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said.
Ya, jadi di dalam Kejadian 37 ayat 5 sampai 11, pada suatu kali bermimpilah Yusuf, lalu mimpinya itu diceritakannya kepada saudara-saudaranya. Sebab itulah mereka lebih benci lagi kepadanya. Karena katanya kepada mereka, coba dengarkan mimpi yang kumimpikan ini. Tampak kita sedang di ladang mengikat berkas-berkas gandum, lalu bangkitlah berkasku dan tegak berdiri. Kemudian datanglah berkas-berkas kamu sekalian mengelilingi dan sujud menyembah kepada berkasku itu. Lalu saudara-saudaranya berkata kepadanya, apakah engkau ingin menjadi raja atas kami? Apakah engkau ingin berkuasa atas kami? Jadi makin bencilah mereka kepadanya karena mimpinya dan karena perkataannya itu.
Then Joseph had another dream and he told it to his brothers. Listen, he said, I had another dream and this time the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. When he told his father as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, what is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you? And his brothers were jealous of him. But his father kept the matter in mind.
Ayat 9, lalu ia memimpikan pula mimpi yang lain yang diceritakannya kepada saudara-saudaranya. Katanya, aku bermimpi pula, tampak matahari, bulan, dan 11 bintang sujud menyembah kepadaku. Setelah hal ini diceritakannya kepada ayah dan saudara-saudaranya, maka ia ditegur oleh ayahnya, mimpi apa mimpimu itu? Masakan aku dan ibumu serta saudara-saudaramu sujud menyembah kepadamu sampai ke tanah? Maka iri hatilah saudara-saudaranya kepadanya, tetapi ayahnya menyimpan hal itu dalam hatinya.
And so we can see these dreams, they caused a little bit of controversy with his family.
Ya, jadi mimpi ini membuat satu kontroversi di tengah-tengah keluarga mereka.
Because basically they were saying that Joseph was one day going to rule over his parents and his brothers.
Karena artinya adalah bahwa Yusuf satu waktu nanti akan membawa pengaruh buat keluarganya.
And sharing these dreams with his brothers actually pushed his brothers into a really deep jealousy for Joseph.
Jadi dengan menceritakan mimpinya ini kepada saudara-saudaranya, membuat saudara-saudaranya semakin cemburu.
And so one day, Jacob, his father, sends Joseph to go and check on his brothers who are working in a field.
Jadi suatu ketika ayahnya yaitu Yakub menyuruh Yusuf untuk pergi ke ladang untuk memantau saudara-saudaranya.
And so these brothers have such a sense of jealousy that they're actually wanting to kill Joseph.
Jadi saudara-saudara ini karena memiliki rasa cemburu dan iri, mereka berencana untuk membunuh Yusuf.
So I really wanted my sister's shoes, but I definitely didn't want to kill her for them. So this was a really, like you're talking a really deep level of jealousy here.
Jadi Pastor Reza sekalipun dia pengen warna yang dimiliki oleh saudara kembarnya, tapi tidak mungkin dia ingin membunuh saudara kembarnya. Tapi ini apa yang terjadi dengan saudara-saudara Yusuf ini, iri hati dan cemburu yang sangat dalam sehingga akhirnya ingin melakukan perbuatan jahat.
And so when we read stories like this, we can read one sentence and not really truly connect with the meaning of what it's saying. We can read a sentence like this in the Bible, but not really truly connect with what the meaning is.
Ya, jadi terkadang kita membaca satu kalimat tentang hal seperti kayak gini di dalam Alkitab, tapi belum tentu itu makna yang sesungguhnya.
You can picture what would it have been like for Joseph and his brothers? What would have it been like for Joseph and his brothers?
Kira-kira apa yang akan terjadi yang dilakukan oleh saudara-saudaranya kepada Yusuf?
It would have felt tense in the house.
Ada hal yang percecokan.
And there would have been a lot of anger, frustration just simmering on the surface. Under the surface.
Ya, ada amarah dan juga kekesalan yang terlihat.
I think they probably would have used silent treatment with Joseph, like not talk to him most of the time.
Dan juga mungkin saudara-saudaranya cenderung berdiam, nggak mau menjawab Yusuf.
And so you think like this would have been a time and a season where it would have been like this in the family home.
Jadi ada satu musim di mana di keluarga mungkin seperti ini kondisinya.
And so it gets to a point where the brothers actually want to kill Joseph.
Jadi satu kondisi di mana saudara kandung sendiri ingin membunuh saudaranya sendiri.
And so Joseph goes and sees his brothers.
Jadi Yusuf datang untuk bisa melihat saudara-saudaranya.
And they have in mind to kill him. So they throw him in a cistern, like a big deep hole.
Jadi mereka berencana untuk membunuhnya, jadi mereka membuat satu sumur.
And then one of his brothers, I think it was Reuben, comes to his senses and says, oh, let's not kill him, why don't we just sell him off as a slave?
Jadi saudara ini ada Ruben, dia berpikir jangan membunuh, lebih baik kita taruh dia di dalam sumur tersebut.
And so at 17 years of age, Joseph is sold as a slave. Yeah.
Ya, jadi ketika di usia 17 tahun ternyata si Yusuf ini dijual
to some Ishmaelite traders.
Kepada suku Ismail, pedagang dari Mesir.
And the brothers, they're tricky as well. They cover up what they've done and they pretend like their brother has been eaten by a wild animal.
Jadi saudara-saudaranya Yusuf ini mencoba menutup perbuatan jahat mereka, yaitu karena mereka sudah menjual, tapi mereka menutup perbuatan mereka dengan membuat satu isu bahwa Yusuf itu meninggal, diterkam oleh binatang buas.
Taking his multicolored coat and ripping it and pouring blood onto it to make it look like he'd been eaten by an animal.
Jadi jubah Yusuf tersebut dicabik-cabik kemudian ditaruh darah untuk bisa memberikan satu kesan bahwa Yusuf sudah tercabik-cabik oleh binatang buas.
And so Jacob finds out about his son and he is heartbroken.
Dan ketika Yakub melihat jubah tersebut, dia sungguh hancur hati.
And he grieves for the certain amount of time that they usually grieve for, but then also continues on grieving for his son. He's so deeply impacted by the loss.
Jadi dia sangat berkabung dalam beberapa waktu, tapi ini lebih lama lagi karena dia sangat bersedih terhadap Yusuf.
And so let's pause for a moment in the story.
Mari kita coba hening sejenak.
The story starts with favor, blessing onto Joseph from Jacob, his dad.
Jadi kisah ini bermulai daripada Yakub, berkat daripada Yakub.
There's a fancy coat.
Kemudian ada jubah yang indah.
2 amazing dreams.
Ada 2 mimpi yang luar biasa.
And right now, if we pause the story here, both of those things seem to have just disappeared.
Tapi bisa bayangkan bahwa ternyata di sekarang ini kita coba berhenti sejenak bahwa sepertinya apa yang luar biasa di awal tersebut tentang janji, kemudian tentang mimpi, kok ini tiba-tiba ada sesuatu hal yang tidak menyenangkan di sini.
We see that Joseph is been sold off for a slave and his dad thinks he's dead.
Dan Yusuf dijual dan banyak orang berpikir, saudara-saudara berpikir bahwa dia sudah mati.
And yet we see God is still working on Joseph's behalf.
Dan apa yang kita lihat bahwa Tuhan tetap bekerja untuk terhadap rencananya yang kita akan lihat dari Yusuf.
What his brothers meant for evil,
Sekalipun saudaranya merancangkan sesuatu hal yang jahat,
God was working for Joseph's good.
tetapi Tuhan merancangkan hal yang baik terhadap Yusuf.
And so Joseph was sold as a slave in Egypt,
Jadi Yusuf dijual ke Mesir sebagai budak,
and he was working for a man named Potiphar,
dan dia bekerja untuk seorang tuan yang bernama Potifar,
who was one of the workers of the Pharaoh, the one that was in charge at that time.
di mana orang yang bekerja untuk Firaun dan orang yang berkuasa pada waktu itu.
And God showed great favor and blessing to Joseph.
Dan Tuhan memberikan kemurahan Tuhan atas kehidupan Yusuf.
And it says in the Bible that the master's house prospered under Joseph's leadership.
Jadi si tuannya ini memberikan kuasa kepada Yusuf untuk bisa melakukan segala satu urusan rumahnya.
And Potiphar saw the favor and the blessing that was upon Joseph's life.
Dan si Potifar ini melihat bahwa ada berkat dan kemurahan Tuhan turun atas kehidupan Yusuf di tengah-tengah keluarga rumahnya.
And he gave him success in everything that he did.
Dan si Potifar ini merasa bahwa ada kesuksesan yang terjadi di dalam ketika ada Yusuf bersama dengan dia.
And put him in charge of all of the household.
Dan dia memberikan kepercayaan kepada kepada Yusuf untuk bisa menangani seluruh pekerjaan rumahnya.
And as Joseph was put in charge, the Potiphar's house was blessed.
Jadi ketika Yusuf memimpin, maka Tuhan memberkati rumahnya Potifar.
So much so that the Potiphar didn't even have to do anything except for figure out what food he was going to eat. Joseph looked after everything else.
Jadi bisa bayangkan ini bukan keluarga yang kecil ya, ini keluarga bangsawan atau orang kaya di Mesir dan bukan bicara tentang sedikit orang. Jadi Yusuf ini memimpin seluruh urusan rumah bahkan sampai urusan makanan. Dan Tuhan memberkati itu semuanya.
Although I don't know about you, I would love someone to decide what I eat, because that's the worst part of most of my week is trying to decide every meal. What are we going to have now? So I think Potiphar should have organized someone to get food. Anyway, obviously that's all he had to worry about, so then it was probably pretty easy if he wasn't worrying about anything else.
Ya dulu nggak ada Gojek ya, jadi ya. Jadi bisa bayangkan bahwa di saat itu sampai urusan makanan dipikirin sama si Yusuf ya. Pastor Rachel bilang tadi nggak tahu dengan Anda sekalian, tapi bagi Pastor Rachel untuk memilih makan apa itu sudah membingungkan. Jadi ini diurusin semua sampai hal yang kecil pun diurusin sama si Yusuf sehingga si tuannya ini sangat merasa berbahagia karena dia memiliki Yusuf.
And so we see that Joseph starts walking again in blessing from God.
Jadi kita bisa melihat bahwa Tuhan memberkati kehidupan Yusuf.
But then the story turns.
Tapi kemudian ceritanya berbalik lagi.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun. I don't know what any of these songs are, but and so we see actually Potiphar's wife takes a liking to Joseph.
Iya, jadi ada si tante istrinya Potifar ini melihat Yusuf.
And she tried to seduce Joseph.
Dan dia mencoba menarik perhatiannya Yusuf.
Because he was quite strong and good looking.
Ya, jadi Yusuf itu quite strong dan good looking ya. Yang ngerti aja.
It's a curse of being good looking.
Ya, oke.
Moving on. Oh, okay,
Nah, good looking.
Oh, you're saying you're good,
Good
looking. Yes,
looking.
you are really good looking, babe. Yeah, you are.
Oke.
And so we see that the wife tries to seduce him, but Joseph stands strong and says no.
Jadi kita bisa melihat bahwa istri Potifar mencoba membujuk, menggoda Yusuf, tetapi Yusuf tetap kuat di dalam iman kepada Tuhan.
And Joseph says, how could I do such a horrible thing against God, a wicked sin against God?
Jadi Yusuf bilang, bagaimana mungkin aku bisa melakukan hal yang buruk terhadap Tuhan?
And it says here, day after day, she spoke with Joseph, but he refused to go to bed with her. Or to even be with her, which that's very strong. Very strong.
Dikatakan bahwa hari demi hari ya si tante tersebut mencoba membujuk daripada Yusuf, tapi Yusuf tidak bergeming.
And so Joseph is again in a situation where it's a bit tense in the household. He came from his father's household where the brothers were all jealous of him and had the silent treatment. Now he's in a new place and there's still another person that's giving him a hard time. Tricky.
Ya, jadi bisa bayangkan bahwa Yusuf sudah mengalami gimana saudara-saudaranya memperlakukan dia dengan tidak baik. Terus ini ada godaan lagi di tempat yang baru, yaitu seorang wanita yang mencoba membujuk dia untuk bisa melakukan hal dosa.
And so basically every day he's faced with this temptation.
Jadi bisa dikatakan bahwa hampir setiap hari dia menghadapi cobaan tersebut.
And I want to just encourage us here just to pause for a minute. Think about your own life. Maybe there are some temptations that you're facing on a day-to-day basis.
Jadi kalau kita bisa coba lihat kepada diri kita, mungkin ada hal-hal yang kita diperhadapkan setiap hari itu dengan hal-hal yang bisa menggoda kita.
And I know that even the sexual temptation is so rampant right now with entertainment, media. You can access not so great photos very quickly. And so that temptation is there. It's the same now as it was back then.
Ya, godaan seksual itu kita bisa lihat dalam kehidupan sehari-hari, baik itu dari sosial media, dan lain sebagainya. Tapi nggak cuma terjadi saat ini, di saat itu pun bisa terjadi.
Let Joseph be an example, especially for you young men, that actually you can stand against that temptation and run from it and flee from its influence over your life.
Ya, khususnya untuk setiap orang kita yang masih muda, yang laki-laki, nggak cuma yang muda ya. Yang laki-laki kita bisa mengatakan tidak pada pencobaan tersebut.
And so we see that Joseph stands strong.
Karena dia memilih untuk bisa tetap teguh di dalam iman.
And he doesn't give in to the temptation.
Dan dia tidak membiarkan masuk di dalam pencobaan.
And then the story turns again.
Dan sekarang kemudian ceritanya berbalik lagi.
And we see that Joseph is wrongfully accused of trying to rape Potiphar's wife.
Dan akhirnya si Yusuf dituduh untuk mencoba memperkosa daripada si tante tersebut.
One day he was in the house and there was nobody else around.
Jadi suatu hari ketika tidak ada orang di tempat itu,
But Potiphar's wife was there.
tetapi istri Potifar ada di situ.
And she caught him by his cloak.
Dia mencoba mengambil jubahnya si Yusuf.
And she's like, come to bed with me. The Bible is not boring. Let me just say that.
Ya, Alkitab benar mengatakannya, ayo mari tidur bersama denganku katanya.
But he left the cloak in her hand and ran out of the house.
Run out, right?
Ran out.
Yeah,
Just
not
went out.
running. Oke. Jadi ngerti maksudnya ya? Jadi si Yusuf ini pergi keluar dan jubahnya tertinggal karena dia pengen lari, nggak mau membiarkan godaan tersebut berlanjut. Jadi dia pergi keluar, bukan pergi ke dalam.
And so you notice here that Joseph loses his cloak again.
Jadi si Yusuf, iya kasihan banget ya. Si Yusuf ini kehilangan lagi jubah nih, udah kedua kali nih berarti.
So that's interesting, isn't it?
Cukup menarik
Lost
bukan?
the cloak the first time, lost the cloak again. I wonder what that means.
Iya, kehilangan jubah yang pertama, lalu ini kehilangan lagi.
Anyway, he might have been cold. Hopefully it wasn't too hot. It was probably in the desert area, so maybe not so. But he leaves without the cloak. And he actually gets placed into prison by Potiphar himself because he was not happy about what his wife was accusing Joseph of doing.
Ya, jadi ketika Yusuf pergi meninggalkan istri Potifar, ternyata jubahnya ini dijadikan satu bukti bahwa Yusuf mau melakukan perbuatan yang senonoh kepada istri Potifar, sehingga akhirnya Yusuf dijatuhkan ke dalam penjara.
And so we see, as the story goes on, Joseph becomes more and more imprisoned.
Jadi kalau kita perhatikan bahwa Yusuf semakin berlanjutnya cerita, semakin kita bisa melihat bahwa Yusuf berada terus di dalam penjara.
He starts in Potiphar's house as a slave, so he's imprisoned in that he has to work for them, but he's still outside and a part of community and what's happening there. Then he moves into prison, which is literally he's in the prison walls.
Ya, jadi sekalipun memang dia bekerja di rumahnya Potifar, tapi dia tetap di dalam satu situasi. Dia tetap budak, jadi tidak memiliki kebebasan. Karena tetap dia harus bekerja dan tidak boleh harus menuruti apa yang tuannya lakukan. Nah, ketika dia masuk di dalam penjara, ini lebih terbatas lagi. Jadi seakan-akan penjara yang sebelumnya itu pun penjara karena dia sebagai budak, tapi ini masuk ke dalam penjara yang lebih terbatas lagi. Sebagai budak namun di penjara.
And so it's encouragement to us because we can see, if we look at this moment, we go, how is that dream of his brothers and his family going to be bowing down to? How is that going to come to pass?
Jadi kalau kita misalnya renungkan, bagaimana mungkin apa yang sudah dialami oleh Yusuf tentang mimpi, dan kalau kita lihat dalam kondisi yang saat ini, bagaimana mungkin itu bisa benar terjadi?
It seems like it's even more impossible now that he's in prison.
Bahkan semakin lebih tidak mungkin karena kondisinya Yusuf di penjara.
And yet we see God working again.
Tapi kita bisa melihat bahwa Tuhan bekerja kembali.
What Potiphar's wife meant for evil or harm against Joseph,
jadi apa yang istrinya Potifar mencoba lakukan untuk kejahatannya Yusuf,
God is working out for the good for
tetapi
Joseph's
Tuhan
life.
bisa balikan untuk kebaikan bagi Yusuf.
And so he's in prison and we see that God blesses his work and gives him great favor.
Jadi kita bisa lihat bahwa di dalam penjara Tuhan memberikan kemurahannya kepada Yusuf.
And again, the warden that was looking after the prison didn't have to worry about anything as Joseph was looking after all of the workings of the prison.
Jadi kembali bahwa Tuhan memberkati dengan kemurahannya kepada Yusuf sehingga segala sesuatu yang Yusuf bisa membantu kepala penjara dan segala sesuatu urusan penjara dia yang urus.
Now, I don't know about you, but if I was in Joseph's shoes, I would have probably not been doing that. I would have been in the corner, in my cell, crying, God, you've forsaken me. Why have you left me in prison? I mean, Potiphar's wife, she's so mean. She accused me of doing something wrong, and now I'm not even meant to be here. This is wrong. And I just would have been having what we call a pity party. I just would have been in that space, not wanting to serve or do anything else. I'd just be focused on the bad things that were happening to me. Can you copy that exact?
Oke. Saya nggak tahu dengan Anda sekalian, tapi Pastor Rachel bilang kalau saya sendiri saya akan bilang Tuhan. Kenapa kok keadaannya seperti begini? Misalnya lalu ada film kayak India, tari-nari, air mata bercucuran, terus pukul-pukul tembok kayak gitu. Intinya bersedih karena kenapa kok katanya Tuhan memberikan saya mimpi, tapi kenapa kok saya mengalami ini? Bahkan sekarang di penjara dan sepertinya tidak bisa berbuat apa-apa.
And yet Joseph doesn't do that.
Yusuf tentunya nggak melakukan itu.
He decides that I'm going to serve the people that are in charge of me.
Dia memiliki satu sikap hati di mana dia memilih untuk mengurus apa yang dipercayakan kepadanya.
And that leadership gift that is within him, he uses it to be a blessing to the prison area.
Jadi apa yang dipercayakan kepada dia, lakukan dengan yang terbaik dan dia bisa melakukan hal yang luar biasa meskipun di dalam penjara.
And so maybe God's put gifts in you, maybe talents, and you're in a place where maybe it's a bit like a prison where you're not being allowed to be free, to be all that you're called to be. And yet I just encourage you, let's be faithful in our service, being faithful in the small things.
Ya, jadi kalau ini sama halnya dengan kehidupan kita. Mungkin kita merasa kita memiliki talenta tapi tidak ada sepertinya seperti dalam penjara, belum ada peluang untuk kita bisa mengekspresikan talenta dan kemampuan kita. Tapi Pastor Rachel mengingatkan bahwa tetap setia dalam perkara yang kecil karena dalam waktunya Tuhan akan percayakan dengan hal yang besar.
And we see that as Joseph is working, then he has the opportunity to be able to interpret some dreams from a baker and the chief butler.
Jadi di dalam penjara tersebut ada satu kesempatan di mana
the baker and the chief butler interpret the dreams.
Oke, ya, di mana ada satu kisah juga terjadi bahwa juru minum dan juru roti daripada kerajaan itu ada di penjara. Mereka bermimpi dan Yusuf mengartikan mimpinya mereka.
And as Joseph interprets these dreams, it comes to pass.
Dan ketika Yusuf mengartikan itu dan hal itu terjadi.
And we see that what he says about these dreams actually comes to pass.
Dan apa yang dia artikan daripada mimpi daripada juru minum dan juru roti tersebut itu terjadi.
And the cupbearer who survived, he says, "Oh yeah, I will let you know. I will let someone know about your talent." The cupbearer, remember me, like Joseph's like, remember me, what I've done.
Si juru minum ya. Oke, jadi si juru minum ini bilang, Yusuf bilang, ingat saya ya ketika kamu memang mimpi ini apa yang saya artikan ini terjadi, tapi ketika kamu lepas daripada penjara, ingat saya ya.
But he forgets about
Tetapi si juru minuman tersebut lupa.
And it's another 2 years.
Dan itu menunggu lagi, tetap di dalam penjara selama 2 tahun.
And then the Pharaoh has a dream.
Dan akhirnya Firaun memiliki satu mimpi.
Now 2 years is a long time to wait.
Jadi 2 tahun itu adalah waktu yang sungguh lama untuk menunggu.
This is many years beyond when he was first given his own dreams.
Jadi bisa bayangkan bahwa dia membutuhkan waktu yang lama untuk bisa mimpinya sendiri terwujud.
But we can see that God had been orchestrating every single step of the journey of Joseph.
Tetapi kita bisa lihat bahwa Tuhan merancangkan dari setiap langkah kehidupannya Yusuf.
So at just this right time,
Di dalam waktu yang tepat,
even though Joseph had to wait,
sekalipun Yusuf harus menunggu yang lama.
that he was summoned to the Pharaoh to be able to interpret the dream that he'd had.
Yes, that's wonderful. So dia akhirnya sampai kepada Firaun dan orang yang paling berkuasa di Mesir dan dia sampai di dalam waktu di mana dia akan mengartikan mimpi daripada Firaun.
And when Pharaoh asks him, "Can you interpret my dream?" This is Joseph's response.
Dan si Firaun bilang sama si Yusuf, bisa nggak kamu mengartikan mimpi saya?
Genesis 44, verse 16. "I cannot do it," Joseph replied to Pharaoh, "but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires." 16, yeah, this one.
Oke, jadi si Yusuf menjawab, bukan,
Yusuf menyahut Fir'aun, "Bukan sekali-kali aku melainkan
Ya, bukan
Allah juga yang akan Don't worry, babe, I'll do it. I've got it. No, it's just...
Yusuf menyahut Firaun, bukan sekali-kali aku, melainkan Allah juga yang akan memberitakan kesejahteraan kepada tuanku Firaun.
And so basically the dream meant that there was going to be 7 years of abundance and then there were going to be 7 years of famine ahead.
Jadi ada mimpi tersebut, yaitu dia memiliki arti ada 7 tahun masa kelaparan dan 7 tahun masa kelimpahan.
And what I love about Joseph, he's in the leadership mindset.
Jadi kita bisa lihat bahwa Yusuf memiliki satu mental dan sikap dan pemikiran seorang pemimpin.
He not only interprets the dream,
Dia nggak cuman hanya mengartikan mimpi,
but he gives him guidance as to how to solve this problem that was going to be ahead.
jadi dia juga memberikan masukan atau ide untuk bagaimana untuk bisa menangani tersebut.
And so that he suggests, why don't you store up food over these 7 years of abundance and then you can use that in the 7 years of famine.
Jadi dia memberikan pendapat bagaimana untuk bisa melakukan hal yang terbaik di masa kelimpahan dan bisa siap untuk masa kelaparan di kemudian harinya.
And Pharaoh says this about him, "Can we find anyone like this man, one in whom is the Spirit of God?" So this is Pharaoh who doesn't believe in God. He himself is a God. He thinks he is a God. So then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since God has made all this known to you, there is no one so discerning and wise as you. You shall be put in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to you and your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you."
Lalu berkatalah Firaun kepada para pegawainya, "Mungkinkah kita mendapat orang seperti ini, seperti yang penuh dengan roh Allah?" Kata Firaun kepada Yusuf, "Oleh karena Allah telah memberitahukan semuanya ini kepadamu, tidaklah ada orang yang demikian berakal budi dan bijaksana seperti engkau. Engkaulah menjadi kuasa atas istanaku, dan kepada perintahmu seluruh rakyatku akan taat. Hanya tahta inilah kelebihanku daripadamu."
And so we see Joseph is made second in charge.
Jadi kita bisa lihat bahwa Yusuf menjadi orang kedua yang berkuasa.
First, he was in charge of Potiphar's household.
Pertama, dia berkuasa atas rumah Potifar.
Then he was in charge of what was happening in the prison,
Dia menjadi orang yang berkuasa di penjara,
which was also connected to Potiphar's leadership. That was his prison that he was overseeing.
Jadi pengalaman yang dia lakukan di penjara juga berdasarkan pengalaman ketika dia di rumah Potifar.
And now, finally, Joseph oversees all of Potiphar's kingdom.
Dan sekarang
Pharaoh's kingdom. Too many names. Pharaoh, very similar to Potiphar. Yes.
Dan akhirnya berlanjut kepada dia menguasai, memimpin seluruh tanah Mesir.
And so it's good. Again, encouragement. If you want to do leadership, often God will start you with the small and then lead you into the bigger things.
Jadi sama halnya dengan dipercayakan tentang kepemimpinan dalam kehidupan kita, Tuhan percayakan dengan hal yang kecil. Sehingga akhirnya siap di dalam waktunya Tuhan untuk kita dipercayakan kepada hal yang besar.
And we see God's favor and blessing continue over Joseph's life.
Dan kita bisa lihat bahwa kemurahan dan kuasa Tuhan bekerja lebih lanjut kepada kehidupannya Yusuf.
And so then the famine starts. So they have their 7 years of abundance and they have the 7 years of famine.
Jadi ada masa 7 tahun kelimpahan dan 7 tahun kelaparan.
And in that famine time, Joseph's family comes to Egypt.
Jadi di masa kelaparan tersebut, keluarga besarnya Yusuf datang ke Mesir.
His brothers, the same brothers that sold him into slavery.
Jadi saudara-saudara yang sama yang menjual dia untuk menjadi budak.
I just can't imagine how Joseph felt seeing his brothers for the first time.
Ya, susah untuk dibayangkan bagaimana perasaan Yusuf ketika melihat saudara-saudara yang sudah menjualnya menjadi budak.
Now the brothers, they didn't recognize Joseph, but Joseph recognized them.
Pada waktu itu saudara-saudaranya nggak mengenal Yusuf karena Yusufnya sudah semakin dewasa, begitu ya.
And he uses some schemes and plots to try and test to see if they had actually changed over time.
Dan si Yusuf mencoba membuat satu drama dan untuk bisa melihat bagaimana apakah saudaranya berubah, sudah mengalami perubahan dalam kehidupan.
And we see that indeed the brothers, they had changed over time.
Dan dia bisa lihat bahwa saudaranya berubah.
And the moment that he reveals his true identity is such a powerful moment of forgiveness and redemption.
Dan ada hal yang luar biasa tentang identitas daripada si Yusuf ini yang mengalami perubahan, yaitu dia memberikan pengampunan kepada saudaranya.
And so I love this little segment here, and this is our key verse from today's passage of scripture. It says here in Genesis 45, verse, I think it's 6. I've lost the numbers on mine. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve you as a remnant on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. And so it is not you who sent me here, but God. He made me father to Pharaoh, lord of his entire household and ruler over all Egypt.
Maka Allah telah menyuruh aku mendahului kamu untuk menjamin kelanjutan keturunanmu di bumi ini dan untuk memelihara hidupmu sehingga sebagian besar daripadamu tertolong. Jadi bukanlah kamu yang menyuruh aku ke sini, tetapi Allah. Dialah yang menempatkan aku sebagai bapa bagi Firaun dan tuan atas seluruh istananya dan sebagai kuasa atas seluruh tanah Mesir.
And so what the enemy had intended for evil, God used and turned it around for good. And Joseph recognizes that in his own journey.
Jadi apa yang musuh coba lakukan untuk mendatangkan kecelakaan bagi kita, tapi Tuhan bisa balikan itu untuk menjadi satu kebaikan bagi kita.
And so we see Joseph's family all moved to Egypt. They're saved from the famine.
Jadi kita bisa bayangkan bahwa Tuhan mempersiapkan si Yusuf duluan datang ke Mesir untuk bisa menolong keluarganya yang ada di tanah Israel untuk bisa datang dan untuk bisa tertolong daripada kelaparan.
And so basically, it's because of God working in his life, even in the hard moments, in the disappointing moments, that it led him to be at the right place at the right time to save his family.
Jadi kita bisa lihat bahwa sekalipun dalam kondisi di mana ada kekecewaan, kepahitan, perasaan yang tidak menyenangkan terjadi, tapi Tuhan bisa lakukan sesuatu hal yang baik di dalam waktunya dan di dalam waktu yang tepat.
God intended it for good to accomplish what has now been done, the saving of many lives.
Jadi Tuhan melakukan hal yang tepat untuk bisa menyelamatkan banyak orang.
And so, wow, what an amazing story Joseph's life is.
Ya, sungguh suatu hal yang luar biasa daripada kisah Yusuf tersebut.
And so on the back of the card that you have been sent to you or did the QR code, there's some questions that we like to answer each week.
Di balik daripada kartu yang Anda sudah terima atau misal dalam QR code itu ada beberapa pertanyaan untuk kita bisa renungkan.
And I'd love to leave those questions with you to be able to even answer while we're having time after the service, connecting with one another.
Dan saya mau ajak untuk kita bisa merenungkannya dan mungkin ketika kita terkoneksi di dalam area di setelah ibadah.
And so we want to talk about what did we learn about God's character and nature from Joseph's story.
Jadi kita mungkin bisa berbincang kira-kira apa yang kamu dapat dari kisah dari Yusuf tersebut.
What does Joseph's story reveal to us about Jesus?
Apa yang kisah Yusuf sampaikan tentang Yesus?
And how can we apply what we learned from his life to our own lives?
Dan apa yang kita bisa terapkan dalam kehidupan kita sehari-hari.
And so I encourage you, have those conversations after church today.
Jadi saya mendorong Anda untuk bisa membuka perbincangan tentang apa yang kita pelajari pada hari ini.
And take time to study these chapters during the week in the devotion time.
Dan coba ambil waktu untuk bisa mempelajari dalam seminggu ke depan ini di dalam waktu renungan harian kita.